Hi, and welcome to another episode of All About Franchising. In today's episode, we're going to cover the ad fund from the franchisor's perspective. We'll cover how to set one up and some other considerations to have, including what to do locally and what to do centrally from the corporate office. Ideally, we recommend managing as much as possible centrally. So, how you may figure this out is by saying, well, what should a franchisee spend every month in order to be successful in their franchise? Now, without getting into a lot of difficult math right now, let's just use $5,000 as a standard amount to be spent for the first year to get the business off the ground. So you want to look at that $5,000 and determine what can we do from a national perspective better than can be done, even if done perfectly, by the franchisee locally. A lot of things are probably going to be better done centrally than locally. And the reason we say that is because you give a perfect plan to the franchisee and you provide them the materials to do it and you explain how to do it. And you have hundreds of franchisees out there. They're still all going to do it slightly differently, which means you're going to garner different results. And what you really want in a franchise system is consistency. So if possible, and it can be done very effectively from a national level, then it should be. Now, things like going out and seeing local businesses and introducing yourself, you can't do that nationally. So you want to have a very good plan and make sure that you're providing the franchisee all the tools they need and the training, and that's a complete system. A lot of franchisors struggle because they give the franchisees suggestions of what to do locally instead of complete systems on what to do. But I digress. So as far as the different funds, we typically have a national fund, which can be referred to as a national advertising fund, an advertising fund, a national marketing fund, and all sorts of different things. And then we typically have a local spend, which we just discussed a little bit. And then you'll have a co-op, which a co-op is usually the combination of the first two, meaning the franchisor can take the contributions that a franchisee must make every month to their local marketing and the national marketing, and they can combine them and direct them for special projects. Now, the co-op should not be above and beyond the national and local spend. It should just be a recoordination of those things. And then the last one that we're seeing often is a technology fee. And the technology fee is very smart to annex from the other two. These are black and white type items that are likely going to be run by third-party companies like pay-per-click, search engine optimization, email posting, and website updates, things like that. So we know that those are consistent items within any franchise now. So having them as a separate standard flat fee probably makes a lot of sense, and people will get a lot of value from that and know exactly where that money is spent. And then depending on the type of franchise, we may have large items like national television campaigns that you're managing, all the way to franchisees who get almost all their business over the web, who are spending the bulk of the national ad fund in combination with the technology fee in order to drive the business. So when determining the different fees, it's important to ensure that the activities are going to happen as well. So to the earlier comment about what you should do centrally and what you should do locally, was the main deciding factor is, can you do it better nationally? You should do it. And then that also would say if they could do it better locally, then they should do it locally. However, are they going to do it? So one of the big pitfalls that is happening with franchisors is they figure, oh, this is an easy thing to do. The franchisee can do it locally, not realizing the franchisee is going to be doing a lot of other things, and likely the first thing that they're going to put on the back burner when there's a problem is the marketing. So something as simple as social media, franchisors have really struggled with, because social media is done better locally. Having a personal, localized touch to your social media is much more effective than national campaigns. But very few franchises have cracked the code of how to get the franchisees to be effective at local marketing from a social media perspective. One thing to consider there might be a brand ambassador, requiring every franchisee to have somebody on their staff that only deals with marketing, purely marketing only, has no other jobs. Therefore, anything that you annex to them to be done locally will fall on this person's shoulders who is not being distracted by any other duties. That can be very effective. Another really important thing is what fees you're going to run through the advertising fund. Some franchisors are very conservative and only charge for direct marketing. Things if they're running TV or radio or creating a brochure or just the creation of the TV and radio, they'll run it through, but they don't put any salaries or administration or travel. That's probably not great. You probably do need to have some of that if you want to have high quality staff running the ad fund. It is okay to take some of that, but be a little bit cautious when you start putting meals and expensive hotel rooms and things that maybe could be done in other ways, because you want as much money being used effectively in your national fund, because that's going to drive higher royalties, because you're going to have higher store volumes. A few other things to note before we end our episode here is making sure that your sales team knows how to explain the great benefits of a well-run ad fund. There are a lot of times you'll hear attorneys and franchisees barking about spending all the money that they give you back in their market locally, and that's just a real misunderstanding of the value of an ad fund. And it comes from probably people seeing commercials for the big franchises out there all the time. But that's a misnomer, because those brands likely have units within anywhere that commercial's running. And it's likely for things like food, where people need to eat all day. So we call that in the advertising world waste, meaning there's no waste if you're Pizza Hut running a pizza ad, because pretty much everybody that sees it, young or old, rural or city, they all have to eat 3 times a day, and you probably have a unit pretty close to them. So you don't have any waste, where if you're a plumber or garage door repair and you're running those things, you may not have a unit even close to them. And secondly, they may not need that service when they see it against everybody needing to eat every day. So you can see that people's understanding of the ad fund are sometimes skewed by these big brands. So it's important that your sales team really knows how to explain the program and the benefits. And then also, as the franchisor, as you're running the fund, instead of just waiting once a year and releasing the mandatory accounting of the fund, it's important to explain to the franchisees regularly what you're doing on a national level, a regional level, and on a local level with the money, and how it enhances what they're doing locally, so that they can see that all the national ad fund efforts actually assist in the local. And by doing these things properly, we're stretching all the marketing dollars. So a franchisee who's spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 may be getting the effective value of $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 of marketing. So that's a little bit about the Franchisor Ad Fund. We hope you enjoyed it. Of course, as always, if you have detailed questions or specific questions about your situation, feel free to put them in the comments or contact us offline, and we'd be happy to answer your questions in more depth. And if there's any other topics you'd like covered, please put those in the comments, and we'll also create some videos on those topics as well.